Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mitch Tseng. I'm with ITRI. It's ITRI with an I, which is different than the previous presenter. It's ITRI with an E, and ITRI is from Taiwan, the one with I. I'm a research consultant for the ICL, which is the Information and Communication Research Lab. And today I'd like to share some of the progress in Taiwan. And also I'm heavily involved in the organization called TAICS, TAICS. Next slide, please. So we always start with this, what 6G is all about. In our view, that 6G will be a network or a system that focus on connection, coverage, the societal responsibilities, and most importantly, the main difference would compare with the previous Gs would be this cyber physical connection over there. And of course, I think other presenters already lined out that sustainability is very important through the intelligent, green, and open procedures for all the networks. And I think that all other organizations has been on this route for a long time. And then today we've seen a lot of presentations on those details. So I'm not going to repeat that part. So I just want to focus on what's happening in Taiwan these days and try to share our views about how we can move forward to collaborate. One news to announce is that TAICS, which is a Taiwan Association of Information and Communication Standards, it is a SDO in Taiwan and also affiliated with 3GPP in the standard publications. All the 3GPP specs releases is actually published in Taiwan through this channel. And they actually started this work on trying to gather the information about what the 6G should be. And then they started writing this white paper and then published 2 years ago in 2022. They published the white paper, but it was in Chinese version. And last year, they finally convert that into an English version so that we can reach out to demonstrate to the world that we are actually aligned. Right? If you look at the table of content over here, you'll see that many topics has been covered by Hexa-X and then also other organizations. But to publish this one, we need to make sure that all the members in Taiwan actually has been on this, and then they're aware of that so we can align our positions. So the paper actually was written by 8 universities and research organizations, including ITRI in Taiwan. And that was endorsed by the 37 members plus 8 non-members to do that one. So we are looking forward to using this as a blueprint or basis to, number one, promote 6G in Taiwan and also communicate with the world. So in the white paper and the 6G potential technologies, we try to cover as much as we can. And then you can see that we actually try to do a lot of things like everybody else to do, right? So we provide an overview about introducing what the 6G should be. And then we also feature some key technologies and requirements, including the challenges we try to fulfill. And then, of course, Taiwan is unique because we are very strong in the semiconductor. We also are very strong in turning around for prototyping. So we're trying to leverage this kind of strengths and try to talk to the other part of the world and then say we are taking a most pragmatic approach. So in addition to just building technologies, we're also seeing that how we can deploy and how we can use these technologies and how this can be productized as soon as possible. So we are trying to introduce on those parts as well. And then we have just concluded to pretty much just follow everybody's lead here. We will continue to work on. So one thing I like to point out more is that the strength of our chipsets, all right, the chip developments, we are very strong in the compound semiconductor, especially high frequency components. That's largely because in addition to we have a large foundries like TSMC in Taiwan that are actually working on that, but we also have other foundries and other semiconductor developments work on this compound semiconductor. So if you're looking for chips and the chip partners, especially on the 3A, 5A groups of chips, then please reach out to us. Then we are doing the things that not only that has based on this packaging, but we also modularize it. And then we also work on the power amplifiers and RF chip design. And also we have this low noise amplifier design. And then we have many companies actually line up, and those are most of them are TAICS members. Then we are ready here to contribute and to help. So 6G is a pretty broad area. And then based on the previous presentations, it's easy to see that there are so many topics, so much areas that we can work on. And I'm glad to see that Hexa-X actually has been working on this for a long time. and then you have all the working parties, and then develop a lot of good specs, and then work on advancing the technologies very well. But in our case, that we actually, when we try to compose in the paper, we actually also conduct 2 surveys, and then the members in Taiwan, and we identified the 12 key directions, ranging from the sub-terahertz all the way to the network security. And you can see that a lot of them has been repeated by other working groups or other organizations. So we are glad to see that, like, especially after today's presentation, we're glad to see that we are actually aligned with many of our partners in the world. A couple of things that I will use the next slide to talk about it, but then there are a couple of things that may not make it to the next slide. I should probably mention here. That is, like, this is a non-terrestrial network, or NTN. There are a lot of work mentioned in the world that we need to work on this, and most of them they are actually looking from the a network service continuities viewpoint. But in Taiwan, there's another motivation to do this part. One is that we want to build it's under the project called the Resilience Network, right? This is Taiwan, because Taiwan is a kind of an island, and then in the middle of nowhere. So in case there are some natural calamities or some other incidents that all of a sudden Taiwan that lost the cable and also lost other connectivity with outside world, then how do we compensate for that? So this NTN is actually is being focused based on this network resilience viewpoint. So in addition to the LEO satellites, we've been working with some partners in the world. We are also exploiting the potentials like HAPS systems and how we can use that either by drone, balloon, and other activities to do that. And the other one is that we have this AI native stuff that we are working on that. Recently, we discovered that the AI native is actually a part of the core 6G technologies. Everybody's talking about that. But on the other hand, we start realizing that AI, you don't get it for free. You don't get it for free. Because in the 6G, one of the goals is that the sustainability. So you also want to try to lower the energy consumption in our deployment in the 6G systems. And if we deploy AI, and in that case, it seems counterproductive, right? Because AI will be an energy hog in many ways. So how we can do that? And that's one area that we've been exploiting. And unfortunately, I was in the D5G conference 2 weeks ago with Nakano Sensei. One presentation actually caught my attention. That is using this old photonic networks. Actually, I think they call IOWN, ion networks. And NTT made a presentation. They leveraging their fiber coverage nationwide and use that as a backhaul to support its AI activities. And I think that's a very interesting direction. So that's one area that I may bring up to my colleagues in Taiwan as well. And then, of course, we have this 6G edge computing is also very important. And the automatic network management, we think that's a must be. On the other hand, Taiwan, we are a small island, right? We're a small country. We don't have a lot of resources, and we don't have a lot of fundings to do all the developments. So our intention is that we want to collaborate with all the members worldwide. Personally, I'm heavily involved in the Next Generation Alliance, the NGN activities. Currently, I'm serving as the vice chair of the applications working group over there. And then we try to use a more pragmatic approach. So like a highlight the 6 different areas for the current development. The number one, of course, is bias from me, because the services, I always believe that the use cases, applications will be the driver for all technologies. So that's why I brought out this called a service as a king, and then try to use this as a link to get the wireless operators and also the manufacturers to align and to develop common goal. And from technology's viewpoint, in addition to the chips I just mentioned, we also focus on RIS, the reconfigurable intelligence services, and also the JCAS, which is also including the ICAS. And then those are areas that has been highlighted and then focused on many new technology development, especially in the 3GPP. So we definitely want to be on the same bandwagon and then try to start working toward that direction. And also there is AI native in the RAN and core network. That's one area that we've been looking into. So we don't necessarily just see AI as general. We also try to maybe narrow it down to what can we do in the near term. And O-RAN is something that we also want to mention. That is because Taiwan has been strong in the O-RAN development, O-RAN community as well. And then we have many vendors and many manufacturers. They are our members, and they have been trying to focus on providing the SA solution in the 5G and for the private network. So what we see is actually try to use an evolution path rather than a revolution path when we migrate to a 6G. I have to point out that the reason that we are working closer with NGA in the Americas, part of it is because we've been trying to maybe join the European developments and try to join the Hexa-X program. But in the past, we have all sorts of limitations, mainly because we are not, especially ITRI, it's not a registered entity in EU. So we have all the restrictions. However, I think that we can only get together better if we actually can work on something together. And by joining this Hexa-X is actually one way we can open up the door to connect with our European partners and then our European colleagues to continue align this global development. But on the other hand, it will also helping us to reach out to the European partners with our strength. And for example, we actually have some advancements in our technology development, so we can probably use this as a basis for the further collaborations. And the first one I had to present is actually the area I'm going to talk about is actually RIS, because we do have a very strong development in the RIS, and then we also have some results that are ready to share. And for example, this one is a RIS, the RIS O-RAN integration. We actually have a field trial plan in mind. We already started in the early 2023, and then we continue to develop that. Now the plan is that we're going to work with a formal lab in the ITRI by 2025. And then the 26th, we actually have this outdoor trial. And then 2027, we're going to work with Chunghwa Telecom, which is a wireless operator in Taiwan. And we want to make sure that our stuff actually is working and they work well. And continue on the RIS project, we also have this end-to-end test bed in mind, because we want to do that not only to verify that, but also we're using this test bed to invite all other entities. For example, if you have different RIS technologies, then we can use to that. Or if you have network architecture or deployment scenarios that you like to try, then we can actually work with you on this part. And then we also try to use this RIS testbed as a means to bridging Taiwan O-RAN ecosystems into RS testbed. So those are alignments that, because you know that Taiwan is actively participating in the O-RAN organization. We have a lot of OTIC labs, and then probably one of the best in the world for that part. But we're also working with other operators in the world to try to develop this O-RAN architecture and then try to use it as a basis to migrate to a 6G. So this actually that right now I just announced that ITRI is right now a registered entity in EU. So we're hoping that you can leverage me and also leverage ITRI as a means to connect to Taiwan, because we do have those strengths in the deployment, in the productization, and also of the chipsets. Right. Thank you very much.